I call upon Dr. Shpenkov, if I say the name correctly, to come to the podium and give his keynote speak. Just a little biography about him. He's completed his PhD in 1968 from YOFI, I guess, Physio-Technical Institute, and he has a Doctor of Science in 1991. He's a retired professor. He's an honorary member of the Russian Physical Society, and he's published 9 books and more than 100 papers in different issues of physics. So I would like to ask him to come forward. Dr. Shpenkov, is he here? Okay, obviously. Is he here? You are Dr. Yeah. Okay. He's not Dr. Shpenkov, is he? I haven't met him, so I don't know. I'm not sure. Right. So, Dr. Shpenkov is not here, correct? Right. I guess, according to the schedule, obviously, we have to take a break because doctor is not here, and it says here from 10:40 to 11 there's going to be a coffee break, but I don't know what time is it now, so it's 10 o'clock. So is that all right? Okay. So we take a break now, and then we come back in because here it says 20 minutes, so we will come back at about 10:25 because one of the keynote speakers is absent. Thank you, everyone, and then we will take a bit of a recess. And is it here? No, he's not. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's do that. Let's just take a 25-minute break, and then we'll just come back. And then after that, there'll be a talk. Professor Takomi from Japan is going to. Sorry, you are Professor Shpenkov. Oh, because I can't believe this. You didn't say anything. My goodness. All right, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Dear colleagues, I will talk about the new fundamental parameters of elementary particles unknown earlier in physics that we discovered thanks to the dynamic model. Dynamic model is a part of the general theory called the wave model, which we developed. Appearance of the wave model has a long history. It is a result of comprehensive analysis of modern physics theories, unconvincing as we believe, because they adhere to the standard model. Being within the framework of the standard model, it is impossible to solve many problems of physics in principle. What is the main reason for the inability of the standard model revealed by us? Fatal flaw of the standard model is erroneous paradigm underlying it, namely formal logic and abstract mathematical fiction postulate. For this reason, describing absurd phenomena, answering somehow the question how, modern theories of physics do not answer as a rule the question why. Relying on fiction postulate and therefore on theories, which for this reason are inadequate to reality, cognition of nature is impossible in principle. This is why modern physics cannot cope with the main key problems such as what is a charge, what is the origin of mass, what is the nature of gravity, what is the nature of origin and the structure of all atomic isotopes, what is the physical meaning of the speed c in a famous equation, energy equal mass times the speed of light squared? What is the nature of the fine structure constant alpha? Is unable to derive magnetic moment of proton and neutron, to build a unified field theory, erroneously interprets polar azimuthal functions in the Schrödinger equation, the nature of cosmic microwave radiation, a phenomenon called the length shift, etc. Nevertheless, for mainstream physicists, especially for theorists, standard model is like a sacred cow for the majority Hindu community, and they consider standard model, which include quantum electrodynamics, as the greatest theory, outstanding achievement mankind. Therefore, undertaking huge efforts to improve the standard model, they keep its basic concept unchanged, despite the fact that all the efforts during long time, all the whole, are unsuccessful. All the above problems succeeded to solve after replacing the existing conceptual basis of physics for a new one, adequate to reality, which we adhere in our studies. The new conceptual basis of physics, which enabled us to solve all the problems mentioned above, was implemented in the new general theory that we developed called the wave model. Today, the wave model includes dynamic model of elementary particles and shell nodal atomic model. The new paradigm of physics that forms the basis of the wave model includes dialectical philosophy and dialectical logic, and the only axiom about the wave nature of all phenomena and object in the universe. According to dialectic, the universe is a material ideal system which is in permanent oscillatory wave motion, where there are no rest, no absolute vacuum, no emptiness, no static fields. Along with matter, there is its polar opposite, not material component, something impalpable, reasonable, mysterious, that is responsible for creation of matter and life, define our intelligent thoughts, the order, regularities, insensate oscillatory wave motion, and harmony in the universe, include information field containing knowledge about everything, as for example, numerical field, law of nature, and about everything, everyone in the universe, etc. Wave model recognizes the existence of such a comprehensive physical field space, unlike all other cosmic fields, which is a primary source from which all particles and hence all other forms of matter are formed, and which is a medium for propagation of perturbation in the form of electromagnetic and gravitational wave. It can be called ether, physical vacuum, or some other way. It is not essentially, does not alter the main concept of the wave model on material ideal essence of the universe, in which all, besides the ideal part, is matter, and absolute vacuum entities does not exist. What is the elementary particles from the point of view of the dynamic model? According to dynamic model, elementary particles are formed in the result of compression, thickening of local spheres of the above-mentioned well-filled space of the universe primary, comprehensive physical. They behave like pulsating spherical micro-objects. Longitudinal oscillation of their wave shell occurring at the fundamental frequency omega e inherent in the atomic and subatomic levels discovered in the dynamic model provide interaction of the particles in radial direction, which is other and with the surrounding field space. The wave shell is an intermediate characteristic sphere. It divides the main part of the particle from its field part. The field part gradually merges with the surrounding field space to infinity. The main part, finite, within the characteristic sphere is the basis of the particle. We can regard it as anti-universe. The field part, infinite, representing its superstructure, the universe. So, specific physical point of the wave field space formed from this space itself, observed experimentally as a micro-object, as an elementary particle, in fact is the formation of infinite in size. Finite size of a particle is restricted by the spherical wave shell intermediate, pulsating at strictly defined ultimately high fundamental frequency of this magnitude, 10 to minus 80 power, inherent in the atomic and subatomic level. Pulsation atop the surrounding wave field space, the perturbation spreading, leads to the wave exchange interaction of particles occurring with the distances of the order fundamental wave radius corresponding to this frequency. Pulsation of the wave shell intermediate of particle, it's ultimately low fundamental frequency of this magnitude, the order 10 to minus 4 power. Discovered also in the dynamic model along with fundamental frequency of atomic and subatomic levels, generate respectively long wave in outer space. We call them gravitation waves because they define the gravitation exchange interaction of particles at the mega level. Infinite size of particle naturally has no boundary, but it includes a far remote zone restricted by the gravitation wave spherical shell. The size of the shell is defined by the gravitation wave radius of particles corresponding to this frequency. That's 327 million kilometers. This shell divides oscillatory wave domain of particles at mega level. So all information about the structure of matter and mystery of life hidden in the basis of elementary particles and their compounds, considering in the wave model, as I mentioned above, as the anti-universe. Accordingly, all phenomena that we observe in the universe are external manifestation of the processes occurring in the anti-universe. So, in accordance with the dynamic model, elementary particles behave like pulsating spherical microformation, being in the dynamic equilibrium with environment. In order to derive the relevant equation describing their behavior, the decisive factor is the correct definition of the condition on the boundary of their pulsating wave spherical shell. We started with them. How was this done and what did it lead to? We present here the result obtained from the consideration of only central exchange, because there is also transversal exchange. This consideration led us to the equation of motion and equation of change. So, because of pulsation, the spherical volume of particle periodically changes, increases and decreases at strictly defined frequency. It means that at this frequency, left and right sides of the shell are undergo continuously the two alternating pressure. At some point of time, the conditions of the shell are as shown here. P is the main parameter, it is the two-dimensional density of exchange, or pressure of exchange, and power of exchange, the field of matter space, internal and external, with the element ds of the shell, the particles are shown here from left side, PDS from right side, PDS plus small additive defined by the partial derivative of P with respect to R. Just this natural condition allow us to derive the corresponding equation describing behavior of particles if we consider it as a wave dynamic pulsating formation. Based on the above condition, we have arrived at the general equation of central exchange. This equation unknown earlier in physics. The power central exchange is zero on the boundary of spherical shell of particle with the area S and radius R. Here is the absolute unit density. It's not electric constant in modern physics. And epsilon R is a relative density. V is the speed of wave exchange, and K is the wave number corresponding to strictly defined fundamental frequency of exchange, and C is the basic speed of wave exchange. So general equation, central exchange, contain information about both exchange of motion and exchange of mass. Therefore, reflecting respectively the two types of exchange, general equation can be presented in two ways: the form of the equation of motion and the form of the equation of exchange. So we'll consider now the result following from this equation. The origin of mass. As it follows from all the stated above, elementary particles is indissolubly associated with surrounding wave field space, which is an infinite part of the particle itself. Being a specific pulsating formation of the space, a particle acquires mass from this very space. Analysis of the both solutions show that mass of elementary particles really has the associated equivalent nature. This follows from first equation. Mass of elementary particles is defined by this formula. So epsilon zero, as everywhere in wave model, is the absolute unit density. Epsilon R equal to the unity at the field level. K is a wave number corresponding to the omega V is a fundamental frequency atomic and subatomic level of this magnitude. The radius R varies with this frequency by the amount plus minus dr. So mass is associated, dynamic. The rest mass does not exist. Associated mass is analogous to the hydrodynamic mass, added mass, attributed to a body moving in liquid. For example, a hollow pulsating elastic sphere or cylinder in water sets in motion all surrounding water mass, which is called thereby hydrodynamic. So I define once again, in view of the dynamic model, a particle is generated from the wave field space and is a specific physical point of the space that is its modified, compacted, thickening formation. The size of the proton is defined in official physics by the so-called routine square radius of the charge, and professors believe with the order 10 to minus 13 power. In the dynamic model, proton size is defined by the radius of its wave shell. The radius of proton shell corresponding to the proton mass defined from the equation 3 has this value. You can compare it here and the first Bohr radius, approximately equivalent. This is the true radius of the proton. Hence, the hydrogen atom does not have a nucleus of the order 10 to minus 13 power, just like the rest of the atom consisting of proton and neutrons also do not have nuclei. Hydrogen and hydrogen ion proton are almost equivalent size and therefore practically do not differ from each other. Our conclusion, atoms atoms do not have nuclei. I have talked about this in last year in Paris. The size of the electron is defined in official physics by the classical electron radius and has the same order as the nucleus, 10 to minus 13 power. Electron is approximated in physics as a point-like particles. In the dynamic model, the size of the electron is defined by the radius of its characteristic sphere, wave shell, also from equation 3. Here, ME is associated mass of the electron, RE is the radius of the wave shell of the electron. In this form, this term much less than unity, so neglected. It's the radius of electron sphere can be detailed by the simplified formula. In the result, we have the radius of the electron. This is a true radius of the electron. He has the order 10 to minus 9 power. The nature of charges. The charge formula which follows from equation has the form. So it's the associated mass. I talked about this. And omega, it's a fundamental frequency. It may be a fundamental frequency atomic and subatomic level, omega E, or omega frequency or the gravitation level. It depends on what charge we consider, electric charge or gravitational charge. The charge is of an exchange nature and is the measure of the rate of mass exchange. Dimensionality is gram per second. We call charge the exchange charge or the power of mass exchange. So electron charge is the elementary exchange charge or elementary quantum of the rate of mass exchange. Here is its true value and dimensionality, 1.7 multiplied by 10 to minus 9 gram per second. So you can compare this value with value of the electron charge in C system and in CGS. So it is expression which connect electron charge with the charge of the electron in CGS system. Here, as everywhere in our model, epsilon zero is absolute unit density. So knowing as associated mass of the electron and elementary and the value electron charge, elementary exchange charge, you can define the fundamental frequency, atomic and subatomic level. Here is its value 10 to 18 power per second. It is the basic frequency of the atomic and subatomic levels of the universe on which the exchange interaction is realized. It determines fundamental frequency, determines the average discrepancy of the space, fundamental wave radius of the field of exchange corresponding to this frequency has this value, 1.6, etc., multiplied by 10 to minus 8 power centimeter. So this frequency, omega E, defines all processes at the atomic and subatomic level, including the strength and length of intra and interatomic beam, strong and electromagnetic. That is, defines the structure of substances, atoms, molecules, liquids, and solids. The wave radius, lambda bar E, show itself as a measure for setting the pitch, providing the strictly certain distance in the disposition of atoms in all chemical compounds. For example, a double value of lambda bar E, 0.32 nanometer, correlates with an average value of lattice parameter in crystals. From dynamic model, it also follows universal law of exchange. I show here the average value for in-phase and anti-phase cases, modular. So M1 and M2 are associated masses of the object. And epsilon zero is absolute unit density. And omega fundamental, it's one of the fundamental frequencies. It may be fundamental frequency atomic and subatomic level, omega E, or gravitation frequency. So for the difference equal to zero, here minus sign. Coulomb's and Newton's law are particular cases of the universal law of exchange. They have respectively the following form. It's a Coulomb's law, it's a Newton's law. This equation describes exchange interaction at the level of electric field of elementary quantum exchange with associated mass ME and exchange electric charge equal to product ME omega E. This equation, Newton's law, describes exchange interaction at the level of the gravitation field of gravitons, nucleons having associated mass M and exchange gravitation charge equal to the product Mn and omega G. Fundamental gravitational frequency follow from the universal law of exchange discovered in the dynamic model when compared it with the Newton's law of gravitation. It is a proper frequency of the mega level of the universe responsible for the gravitation exchange interaction of both. So gravitation, Newtonian constant of gravitation is an empirical value, and absolute zero here is an absolute unit density. Gravitation, like everything in the universe, is of the wave nature. Gravitation wave radius, the radial elementary gravitation wave of elementary particles corresponding to this frequency has this value 327 million kilometers. So the nature of gravitation definition in accordance with the vibration. Gravitation interaction of bodies is the result of wave exchange of all elementary particles that make up the bodies as the fundamental frequency of the gravitation level of this frequency. Gravitation radius determines the radius of the wave spherical shell of the particles, the mega level. It's very simple formula. And the ratio between the radius of the shell. Both of these equations give us the gravitational spectrum of atomic wave spherical shell, which in the first approximation are close to the elliptical orbits, having relatively small eccentricities of the planets and their satellites. And that here are roots of Bessel function. For example, for roots of Bessel function equal to J01 of this value, calculation gives us this radius of the wave spherical shell that is close to the semi-major axis of elliptical orbit of Jupiter. You can compare this experimental data for orbits and our calculation. For Uranus calculation gives us this value, and here is experimental. So you can compare. Gravitation frequency define radial time wave period. It's a very simple formula. And the azimuthal time wave of the fundamental torque. So the value of the azimuthal time wave practically coincides with the average length of solar day on Earth. So the azimuthal time wave repeats the structure of spatial wave of the fundamental torque in both first orbit, and analogously the azimuthal transversal electron wave of the fundamental torque. Here is the radius electron wave shell. This relation 25 shows that our S is in harmonic resonance bond with the fundamental gravitation frequency omega G, just like electron in the first orbit is in harmonic resonance with the fundamental frequency of subatomic and atomic levels. This means that our Earth is fundamentally different from other planets, just like the hydrogen atom differs from all other elements of the periodic table, taking a special place in the field space of the solar system and maybe cosmos on the whole. From the dynamic model also follows gravitation constant is defined by the gravitation frequency, equation 20. Taking into account this was qualities, the gravitation constant can be also presented by this way. So, indissoluble harmonic bond of micro and mega object of the universe in a single complex of infinitely small and infinitely large is confirmed by the discovery of characteristic fundamental parameters of particles concerning their behavior at the different levels, atomic, subatomic, and mega gravitation. These are the discoveries of fundamental frequency, atomic and subatomic level, and gravitation frequency, and fundamental wave radius corresponding to this frequency. The fundamental frequency, post-fundamental frequency, are the main parameters entering in the universal law of exchange, also discovered the wave model, to which the object of both levels are subject to. Neutron is one of the main particles of atomic system, the fundamental quantum of mass and the fundamental graviton. The exchange gravitational charge of the neutron is equal to the product associated mass of the neutron and gravitation frequency, with this magnitude. The radius of the wave shell of nucleons, protons, and neutrons has the order 0.5 to 8, etc., multiplied by 10 to minus 8 power centimeter. As follows from the solution of the wave equation, this wave equation, the center of mass of a nucleon perform a radial oscillation at the fundamental frequency, atomic and subatomic level. This amplitude of this order 1.4 multiplied by 10 to minus 13 power centimeter. Oscillation just with this amplitude covers the dynamic spherical volume in the center of nucleon. The spherical space, limited by this volume, impacts the case of scattering of particles and waves. Just this space, unfortunately, was mistakenly taken by Rutherford for the super-dense nucleus in the center of atom. Electron exchange charge is responsible for the strength of electromagnetic interaction, in particular for interatomic bond in molecules and crystals. Actually, the electron binding energy, the bond length equal to the fundamental wave radius, defined in the dynamic model by this formula, is equal to 4.49 electron volt. This value practically coincides with the dissociation energy of molecules, for example, hydrogen, 4.48 electron volt. Accordingly, the characteristic break energy of chemical bond per mole of substance, dissociation, is equal to 103 kilocalories per mole. For methane and methane, experimental values of dissociation energy are 101 and 104 kilocalories per mole, respectively. The electron work function of mono and polycrystal, aluminum, gold, bismuth, wolfram, ferrum, copper, and are also above this value, 4.49 electron per mole. Exchange charges, nucleons, neutrons, and protons are responsible for the strength of strong nuclear, in quotation mark, nuclear interaction, in quotation mark, because as follows from the dynamic model and show nodal atomic model, all of the atoms, except for neutrons, protons, and proteins, are elementary nucleon molecules, and they do not have nuclei. The internodal binding energy of neutrons and the bond length typical for shell nodal structure of the atom, this value is divided by root of basic function, the solution of the wave equation, is equal to 16.965 megaelectron volt. This value of binding energy is characteristic for strong nuclear interaction. It correlates, for example, for this threshold energy of gamma-neutron reaction in nucleus. Energy of fundamental interaction is defined by exchange charge squared. If the energy strength of electromagnetic interaction is taken as unity, then in this case the energy of strong interaction has the order 10 to 6 power. And that gravitation level has the order 10 to minus 36 power. Hence the strength is of three fundamental interactions: strong, electromagnetic, and gravitational related approximately as shown here, overlapping the range of 42 decimal order in magnitude. So, elementary pattern according to the dynamic model, being in interference microformations of wave field space, a local pulsating three-dimensional vortex in the field space looks like a spherical micropulsar. A series of the discoveries we made within the dynamic model of unknown earlier fundamental parameters defining basic properties and behavior of the particle confirms validity of the dynamic model as a theory describing the structure of elementary patterns more adequately reality than the standard model. At the end of this presentation, in order to confirm the above conclusion, once again, I would like to present yet another solution, which also became possible only thanks to the dynamic model, to the next great problem of modern physics. As you know, the great mystery of official physics so far is why the speed of light squared defines the internal energy of quiescent particles. So particles is motionless, and M0 here is believed is the rest mass. The reason for inability of official physics to answer this question in principle is the structure of the particles is described within the standard model. The latter is inadequate theory, is based on numerous fictional postulates. Consequently, it does not know anything about the nature of mass, and the physical meaning of the speed c in this equation. Thanks to the dynamic model, the origin of mass M0, the nature of this parameter c, and hence the true meaning of the energy E0 became clear. So, according to the dynamic model, this equation defines internal dynamic energy of pulsating particles, where M0 is associated mass of a particle. The way pulsating formation do not have rest mass in principle. C is the basic speed of wave generated by the pulsating wave shell of a particle in the ambient field space. The wave exchange interaction of particles with the surrounding field and other particles, both at rest and motion, is realized with the speed c as a fundamental frequency of the pulsation of this value. So the constant c is one of the fundamental parameters of particles along with the associated mass and the exchange charge. So revealing for the first time the true physical meaning of the most famous equation in physics on the path of discovery of the origin of mass and the nature of the speed of light. The dynamic concepts on the way nature of origin and the behavior of particles passes the next clear text for the suitability. Conclusion. Thanks to the dynamic model and impressive series of the fundamental discoveries unknown earlier fundamental parameters and properties of particles defining their behavior was made. They were marked in color lines in this report. These discoveries, together with other discoveries, it's a big list, so are listed in the memorandum on scientific studies of the author, approved by the Congress 15 Russian Physical Society in 2016. So this is the references. So, judging by all the results, the wave model has shown itself as well-proven real alternative to the standard model, the only alternative that appears finally in physics, and that is very important, based on the adequate conceptual basis. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Professor. Shpenkov. Do I say your name correctly, Professor? Your last name, do I say it correctly? Shpenkov, okay, because my Russian is not good, so I apologize if I say. All right, so if I could ask Professor Balashkov to felicitate Professor Shpenkov, and so after that we're going to take some photos, I believe, and then we're going to have a coffee break. Thank you.
As a member of organizing committee, as a member of organizing committee, together this conference series and the editors of supporting journals, I wish to thank Professor Georgy Shpenkov for his phenomenal and worthy keynote presentation. Thank you.
So we come back at 11 o'clock.